Oh, and the other thing was his vote of confidence for the coordinator. And the way
You
that
stole all my takes. That's all the things I said as to why Canada
maybe
should
he
be
listens
back.
to the podcast. Maybe. Mr. Rooney, if you're listening right now, hit the like button, please. Thank you.
What'd he say? Offense improved, running game improved, Kenny improved under him, and him and Kenny have a good relationship. And he said if we get rid of Canada, you don't necessarily know who you're bringing in, and it'd almost be like a restart with Kenny in his young career, and we don't necessarily want to do that with him.
Maybe Mr. Rooney knows ball because he listens to you, Deke. Maybe that's
I
why
feel like he
knows
knows ball in his own right.
Yeah.
Maybe he glanced at our podcast, though, and wanted to just get a different perspective from the fans and maybe potentially a former player on what they think about it. And then he put that in his back pocket and realized, yeah, I'm good with bringing Canada back. I think it's a smart decision. Obviously, Tomlin gave him advice on it, too. So if Tomlin is good with it, he's the guy that brought Canada in, saw the improvement. And Pompiani had a good follow-up. He asked Rooney if the only reason you brought him back is because he was still under contract for 2023. And you could see in Rooney's face. He was like, no. He was like, no, that's not the case at all.
That's low-key a good question.
It's a good question.
That's definitely a good question.
But I think you could tell in Rooney's body language and how he answered. He was very sincere. He's like, no, that wasn't the case. It was more about we did see improvement.
I like that. Shout out to both of them for that, man. Bob, man, we know he's one of the best in terms of just media journalism, interviews, and stuff like that. And Mr. Rooney, man, elite level response right there, man. And just the sincerity. And that is dope for it to be coming from the owner like that as well. But obviously we had talked about it before Mr. Rooney had made a statement about Matt Canada coming back, sticking with him and stuff like that. So yeah, man, obviously we're in agreement with him. I did have a question though, because the new narrative became when people talk about Coach Tomlin's staff and the people that are on there and stuff like that, is it looking more and more like this maybe is not ever him picking his staff, is mainly Mr. Rooney making these decisions? Do you think it's a scenario like that?
Not now, maybe in the past.
Okay.
I feel like with Todd Haley, probably the Butler one was maybe that was Tomlin and Rooney together, because you were around at the time. You felt like it was just Butler's next up. There's really not going to be a
like
discussion
everybody in
about
the
it.
building knew like
it was more of an organizational thing. Like you just step up within the company, within the organization, and he deserved it. Like he was qualified to do that. Now we probably wish things turned out better with his defenses, but it is what it is. I think this is actually the first time you get Tomlin handpicking his guys. Actually, I think it's the opposite. I think he picked Austin. He brought in Flores from the outside. Picked Canada. He had that connection with him because of Maryland and whatnot. He wants to start this whole college-style offense, which isn't like that much of a college-style offense. The more that we're realizing it.
I would agree.
He throws in some jet sweeps, but now you're seeing that across the NFL.
Yeah, literally the jet sweep was like the big college thing, but we don't even get a ton of gun anymore like that. It's like, we running these pro style play action pass, like West Coast style offense. That's what it feel like.
Do you have thoughts on that?
What, the style of the offense? Or
no, Tomlin versus Rooney. Who's picking these guys?
I go back and forth, man, because it's like we definitely know there have been times where it was kind of like appointed, like you talk about with the offensive coordinator and stuff like that. But then I do feel like the Flores move was a Tomlin move. But then I'm like, okay, did you call Mr. Rooney? Because remember the whole dynamic when he talked about story was, I told him give me 24 hours. I called Mr. Rooney, and then I came back. So it's like, did you have to get the green light, or were you just doing just the right thing as a person working for a company? Like, let me call up.
Does every coach do that with their owners?
But that's the thing. I don't know. I've never looked into it, because when you're talking about this type of stuff, it's like, it's never really something good that's coming from. We're trying to point the finger like, all right, so who's been more responsible with this thing? Most of the time, they just fire one of them dudes and you don't have to worry about it. But for us, because of how long they've both been here and how we view both of them, that's the part where I'm just like, I don't necessarily know all the way, because it does seem like he has to get the okay from Mr. Rooney. But at the same time, I don't think that's a negative on Mr. Rooney either, because if I'm the boss, like, I want a green light decisions.
Well, Flores' situation was a little unique though too,
especially with the lawsuit
because that was
going
happening
on.
right around the
Yeah.
time. So he probably just
now
out of
you talking
respect,
owner to owner, yeah.
yeah, he's probably just out of respect. Like, hey, if we bring him in, there might be some extra media
Yeah.
coverage. You cool with that?
Yeah. And knowing that, hey, you gonna go to the same owner meetings with the dude that this guy is having a lawsuit against, you gonna be cutting him a check now. How do you feel about that? So you're right. It could definitely be that. Like I said, I just don't know. But I don't lean one way or the other in terms of being a negative. I do think that Coach Tomlin, though, has been more impactful in terms of the TA hire, Terrell Austin, and the Brian Flores hire. And I definitely feel like the Matt Canada move was from him because of that connection. But yeah, it's just hard to definitively say one way or the other.